You've taken a wrong turn down Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, I am Maureen Bogey.
And my name's Dylan Hackworth.
And you are listening to the Creep Street podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a great episode. Before we get started, real quick up top, let's just pop off and do it, okay? Feel free to follow us on Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod, also Facebook, okay? You understand where I'm going with this? Tell your friends, please like, rate, subscribe, do the whole thing. Thank you so much for being here. Also, if you're interested in getting some more content, please feel free to head on over to our Patreon page to see some great tier options. And speaking of, Dylan, can you give us our shout out of our patrons at the top tier level?
Our subscribers at the $10 level. Of course, the Dream, James Watkins. The Madman, Marcus Hall. The Tenacious, Teresa Hackworth. The British Bonebreaker, Bex Martin. The Vivacious, Vicky McHugh. The Oh-So-Suave, Sean Richardson. The Notorious Nicholas Barker, the Finnish Face via a long fist, and a newcomer. Introducing the Heartbreak Kid, Chris Hackworth.
Whoa.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join our Creep Street patrons, head on over to www.patreon.com/Creep Street Podcast to find out all about it.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, now Dylan, it is finally our favorite time of year. We are in October. This is exciting. So happy to be here. Happy Halloween season, everyone.
It's time, baby. It's
my
time.
God. You
One
can
of
feel
all,
it.
we're getting married this month. That's a big one. And two, it's just that time of year, baby.
Really quick, just so you guys know, as of right now, we do have enough 5-star reviews that Dylan says he will go forward with the wedding, but just know it could change at any moment.
But her parents aren't invited. The only way that's happening is if we get more reviews.
If we get more 5-star reviews.
Let her parents see their daughter get married.
Oh, they want to come so bad. It's so bad. But other than that, we are beginning our first Creep Street spooky October season, and this is going to be a very, very fun, spooky, scary-filled time with Creep Street.
We're going to church, baby.
Take me to church.
We are going to church this month. We are talking about perhaps one of the most fun aspects of the paranormal, EVPs.
Electronic Voice Phenomenon.
That's right. So this is on all those shows where they're like, did you hear that? And then they play it back and you hear like, they're like, oh no, I think it says get out. And then you listen to it, it's like, get out.
And
it's
like,
one of the, we're talking about those. And boy, oh boy, do we have some exams.
Yes, we do.
We got some pretty bone-chilling exams.
This is bone-chilling, and it does remind me, this kind of just practice we're going to do today with this episode, it reminds me of a very non-spooky thing from pop culture. Remember when it was like that clip that was going around YouTube, and either people would hear it go like, Yanny, or Laurel.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it's going to feel a lot like that. You're going to say, what am I hearing? Am I being, pushed in a certain way? What's going on? Yanny, Laurel, or is it a ghost asking for help?
Absolutely.
Let us know, Dylan, please.
As we know, EVPs, short for electronic voice phenomenon. And EVPs themselves are actually a form of ITC, which is short for instrumental transcommunication.
Ooh.
i.e. the method of using electronic devices to contact the other side.
Nice, okay.
Very quickly, I want to give a shout out to my source. I read the Living Life in Full Spectrum Guide to Electronic Voice Phenomenon by Sarah Chamacero.
Okay. Sounds, very thorough.
It's a very fun source.
Yeah.
It's very easy to, it's very straightforward, and also a lot of fun. It gives you a lot of fun examples of things you can do at home to try and record with the resources you have. Really fun read. She's someone I'd actually like to reach out to and maybe interview for the show. She seems really cool. I really like this book. Most often, Thomas Edison is mistaken as being the father of EVPs. Now, rumor was that Edison had been building a sort of device that would allow him to contact the dead. But that probably started when an article was published in the Literary Digest in 1921 in which he was interviewed.
Okay.
And in this article, Thomas Edison is quoted as saying,
"If our personality survives, then it is strictly logical and scientific to assume that it retains memory, intellect, and other faculties and knowledge that we acquire on Earth. I am inclined to believe that our personality hereafter will be able to affect matter. If this reasoning be correct, then if we can evolve an instrument so delicate as to be affected, moved, or manipulated by our personality as it survives in the next life, such an instrument, when made available, ought to record something."
Now, many of Edison's colleagues say that he was actually just having a bit of fun in that article, just poking a bit of fun. He was just teasing a little bit. He liked to stir up a little bit of a showman.
Well, he was also kind of a chode, right?
He was kind of a chode, yeah. He used to zap elephants to death, right? Wasn't that him?
Did he do that? He was like one of those guys where he was like, hey, like, these are all my ideas. When really there was like, I don't know how many people, but a lot of people working under him that he just like claimed all of their work. So anyway, go on.
Well, Edison was not the only person talking about EVPs, or at least this notion of being able to contact the other side. Nikola Tesla, in a 1901 article in Collier's Weekly entitled Talking with the Planets, he proclaimed his intention to create a device that would allow us to communicate with extraterrestrials from Mars or anywhere else for that matter.
That's wild.
And in this article, Nikola Tesla writes,
"At the present stage of progress, there would be no insurmountable obstacle in constructing a machine capable of conveying a message to Mars, nor would there be any great difficulty in recording signals transmitted to us by the inhabitants of that planet, if they be skilled electricians. Communication, once established even in the simplest way, is by a mere interchange of numbers. The progress towards more intelligible communication would be rapid. Absolute certitude as to the receipt and interchange of messages would be reached as soon as we could respond with the number 4, say, in reply to the signal 1, 2, 3. The Martians, or the inhabitants of whatever planet has signaled to us, would understand at once that we had caught their message across the gulf of space and had sent back a response. To convey a knowledge of form by such means is, while very difficult, not impossible, and I have already found a way of doing it. What a tremendous stir this would make in the world! How soon will it come? For that it will sometime be accomplished must be clear to every thoughtful being. Something at least science has gained, but I hope that it will also be demonstrated soon that in my experiments in the West I was not merely beholding a vision, but had caught sight of a great and profound truth."
Guy's kind of smart.
Nikola Tesla, everybody. Nikola Tesla.
Okay.
Apparently, he claimed he had gotten a message from another world. That's legit. Yeah.
I did not know about this.
Oh, yeah.
Part of
Tesla,
of him.
Tesla will get his own episode. Tesla's got, there's interesting shit running through that. There's really cool stuff.
I love that. And it just, having someone just so highly regarded and so respected. I mean, not at the time, but now he is.
Exactly.
Like, it makes you be like, oh, wow, this really does have something to it if he thinks.
Exactly. Well, long story short, people have been capturing EVPs pretty much since we've been able to record sound. So let's look at theories as to how this actually works. Let's just, in this scenario, say we know for a fact these are ghost voices.
We know it.
Let's just say we know for a fact.
We do.
Well, how the hell are they actually getting these messages onto recording equipment? So here's some theories. So the human ear can usually hear, on average, it can hear sounds that range between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. And of course, that's the average. As we know, some people are better at hearing low or higher sounds depending on your age and whatnot. Same with animals. Obviously, we know animals can hear different sound frequencies.
Right.
Now, digital recorders can record sounds as low as like 7 hertz or lower, as high as 50,000 or more hertz. So one theory is that ghosts are able to communicate, but only on frequencies lower or higher than we can actually hear.
Okay.
So this would make sense why pets would freak out.
Yeah.
Why you always hear about pets freaking out.
Because they can hear it. Yeah.
And to a lighter degree, but still the same, why children might notice things first. Because children, they talk about as you get older, you can't hear as high or as low of sound. Your
Right.
range of hearing as you get older diminishes.
Yeah. And this might be a stretch. Not even a stretch. This might be a stretch.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Stretch it, baby.
But I have to say, a lot of times you hear about this and you're like, oh yeah, animals can hear things on different frequencies or that
Right.
whatever, and that's so cool. But not only can animals hear those frequencies, some animals can actually make and communicate with them. So
Yeah.
like elephants communicate through these like really, really low tones
Right.
that we can't hear,
Exactly.
that humans can't hear. But it's like a very effective form of communication.
Absolutely.
Okay? Elephants are smart as hell. Okay, they're mammals. They're smart. They're kind
They're
of
smart.
humans,
Yeah.
They like grieve and shit. They're smart as hell.
Right.
So if an animal can actually find a way to communicate in that way,
Right.
then why can't humans in another realm or in death,
Exactly.
Once again, this might be a stretch,
Right.
okay? But I thought it was worth
stretch
saying.
it, baby,
I
stretch it.
wanted to talk about it.
So a point that the source makes that I think is actually a really good point. So apparently the majority of captured EVPs actually fall well within the range of human hearing. Typically, they're between 100 and 300 hertz. Yet, why then are EVPs often not heard until the recording is played back later?
Right,
Well, maybe
right.
this is what makes it paranormal. Maybe that's part of the paranormal effect, is for whatever reason you can't hear it, even though it is at a perfectly hearable volume.
Right.
Or a decimal, whatever.
And if anyone hasn't seen one of these videos of like ghost hunting shows or whatever, when they show this, basically what happens is they'll ask a question with recording equipment recording.
Exactly.
And they'll just like leave a space because they know they're not going to be able to hear something in
Right.
that time. Like you only can hear it when it's
Exactly.
recorded. It's not that it's just like people missed it when it was happening. It's like you literally can't hear
Right.
it in the moment.
Exactly. And the other theory, which is one I find very interesting, is the author says, what if EVPs are not acoustic in nature, but rather electrical?
Yes, this is what I'm into.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Often on ghost hunting shows, you see them using these devices that, they will talk and then lights will light up and they'll
Right.
ask it questions, and depending on how many or what color of light turns on is their answer.
Yeah.
So by that theory, if these spirits are able to manipulate electrical currents to do that, then maybe they are manipulating electrical currents to leave messages on tape.
Right.
This would also explain why sometimes an EVP will get captured on one recording device despite there being several in the room.
Oh, that's cool. So it's not just floating in the ether type thing.
Right.
It's like it's being sent
To a specific
to
recorder.
somewhere.
So
That's
perhaps
cool.
it's electrical in nature.
I think that makes a lot of sense because just the idea that spirits still have some kind of energy.
Right.
And maybe their energy is just like at a different frequency or, you know,
Right.
whatever. Well, that's a whole other episode there. But it makes sense that they're able to make some sort of difference or make some sort of effect on the electrical realm because
Right.
is something that they can manifest easier than, moving a chair
Absolutely.
or whatever. And that's why, I think lights flicker, things like that, or you always see like weird things with like vending machines, like
Right.
flashing. I think that's kind
Right.
of where that's coming from because they can actually affect
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Now, generally, there's considered to be 3 classes of EVP, 3 categories
Okay.
in terms of quality. And I'm just going to read this directly from the source. Class C. This is the lowest quality EVP. Even with enhancement and amplification, it may not be enough to make the voice audible or clear. There may even be debate whether or not an EVP is actually present and is often discounted. Class B. This is the most common type of EVP. often need some sort of enhancement or amplification to be understood. The voice may not be clear enough to be understood, or there may be disagreement between the reviewers as to what it says. And finally, Class A, top shelf, baby. This type of EVP is loud, clear, and of very high quality. The voice is easily understandable and does not need enhancement or amplification. So pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, I like this. Yes.
Pretty. I love a no-nonsense way to determine your EVPs.
Right, exactly. They're not giving us like a color system or something.
Yeah.
They're
not doing stages.
right. We're just doing A, B, C. You get it.
Right.
But when you do hear a good A,
Ooh, baby.
I love a good set of A's, a good swinging pair of A's.
So what do you say we start listening to some EVPs?
Let's do it. Yes.
So this first one, this person, they were actually visiting the house of Anna Cleves, one of the houses that was, I guess it was her primary house. Once, I think it said once she divorced Henry, Henry VIII, this was the house she was given.
Yes.
And so this is a very unique thing. I want to play it for you right now. It's going to repeat 4 times. I want you to hear it, and then I want you to guess what it's saying.
Also, really quick, just so we all know, Anne of Cleves was one of King Henry VIII's wives.
Yes.
King Henry VIII, he was the guy that was like chopping off his wives' heads, and he was like, I want a divorce. And the Pope was like, no. And he was like, well, I'll start my own thing. And so Anne of Cleves was one of his wives. They got divorced because Henry thought she wasn't pretty, which is sad, but they like stayed on good terms.
Right.
Oddly enough.
This EVP was taken inside the house of Anne of Cleves. Let me know what you think it's saying. Okay, what do you think the voice is saying?
It said something like, he likes you or something like that. What do you think it says?
Apparently, it is saying, this woman's voice is saying, Henry would really love you. He's not here for you.
Oh, what?
That's apparently what it's saying. Now, of course, this could be one of those things, once you're told what it says, you can't help but hear it.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you guys what this video said it was saying.
I could really hear the for you or likes you or like something. I could hear or loves you or something like that.
Give it another listen. See, I now you can't.
Now I
hear
think
it.
I do hear the Henry. Yeah,
it sounds like she's almost being catty. It sounds like this voice might have actually been talking to them.
Oh,
and it was as if she was saying, "Oh, Henry would love you, but he's not here for you." It's almost like a little bit of shade, like, yeah, you're cute, baby.
Oh,
but
like Henry would love you.
Henry, you're cute, baby, but Henry wants a real, Henry's here for the goods. You know what I mean?
Because a part of me thinks like maybe that's a little too like perfect that's what they would capture.
Exactly.
But then the other part of me is like, that was probably biggest, most dramatic, important thing in her life. I mean, she was married to the King of England. And
lucky for her, she didn't end up with her head on the goddamn floor either.
I know. She was the only one that him and Catherine Parr, he was like, you guys are chill.
Yeah. So for our next EVP, this was taken in 2010 at the Linda Vista Community Hospital in Los Angeles, California. You're going to hear one of the team members ask a question. I believe it's, how are you associated with the hospital? And then you're going to hear the response. I'll play it a few times, and then we'll talk about what we think it's saying, or if you can hear.
Okay.
How are you associated with the hospital? How are you associated with the hospital?
So what do you think? So you heard the person say, How are you associated with the hospital? What did you, it was clearly a whispering voice.
Yes.
What did you hear said back?
Okay, I am not listening to it with headphones, so I might not be hearing it I might not be catching as much as some of you at home may be noticing.
Hey, that's a good point too.
But I can tell that it's three things. It's like, like I could definitely hear that there was something happening.
It sounds
and
like...
it sounded like a whisper voice.
It sounds like 3 one-syllable words.
Yes, I couldn't really like put together what it was saying, but it definitely sounded like a voice to me.
Well, after the team member asks, how are you associated with the hospital? They claim what the spirit responded with was, we're not dead. Let's hear it again.
How are you associated with the hospital?
We're not dead. Now you can't help but hear
Okay, yeah, it's one of those things. Once you hear it, then you're like, oh my god, of course I hear
it.
it.
Of course I hear it.
We're not dead.
Yeah.
That's so weird. And that's a thing a lot of times when people communicate with ghosts, those ghosts sometimes don't. Those ghosts sometimes don't know that they're dead, or that's at least what it seems like. So
yeah. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yes, please.
So this next EVP, very interesting. This was captured by a group of ghost hunters in a place called the Village Salon, located in Grand Cane, Louisiana. This is definitely probably what you'd call Class A, I'd assume.
Oh, okay.
Very clear.
I'm excited.
Now, what's funny about this is you'll hear the team talking, the actual living people. They'll be chatting in regular voices, but the EVP is whispered, but yet being whispered, you'll hear it clear as day. Louder than them. It's not loud. Weird. It's not going to like hurt your ears or take by surprise.
Right.
But it's just so much more. It's like clearer than even them. But yet it's whispered. So you're going to hear some team members chatting, and then while they're chatting, you'll hear the EVP. Let me know what you think it's saying.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm not crazy. But different people have different stages of filming. I'm not crazy.
So I played it twice, and then I replayed the EVP twice over at the end there. What do you think that whispering voice is saying?
Oh God, she's saying I'm not crazy.
Apparently, she is saying I'm not, or whoever it is saying I'm not crazy.
Oh fuck, dude, that makes my heart drop.
It's funny because it's whispered yet more more audible than any of them.
Wow, I'm not crazy. It seems like you can really tell that she's like, it really feels she's like really trying to convince you.
Well, it almost sounds like, I don't know what the people were talking about, but it almost sounds like she's overhearing them gossip. Like, maybe maybe the spirit thinks they're talking about, and it's almost like, I'm not crazy, or like, I'm
not crazy,
or something. It's almost
or someone
like
thinks she genuinely is crazy, and she's like worried, like that she needs someone to believe that she's not crazy, or
Exactly.
Wow. That one is weird. You can really, really hear that one. Oh, and it's scared. That's spooky. Something about it makes me scared.
Well, we have 2 more.
Okay.
Our final one I'm saving. But before we get to that one, I want to revisit one we've all heard.
Oh?
This one was one that apparently we captured.
That's right.
In our interview with Chicago paranormal investigators Dave Olson.
We did not even know it.
And we didn't even know it. You hear it. We actually briefly heard it. Remember?
Yeah, that is true. We could hear something.
It's much clearer on his end. So what we're going to do, this next clip, you've already heard it, but in case we have new listeners who have joined us since then, if you haven't gone back and heard it, and just so everyone knows, we're not claiming this is for sure a ghost voice.
It's just a weird thing we caught by accident.
Who knows what it is? Let's fucking play it.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think that it seems to me, I have never...
Could you hang on a second? I just heard a female voice.
Woo!
It sounds like someone's like a video game character, like Peach or Toad is falling.
Right. Well, first of all, like we said, this audio is from Dave's side. So what you're hearing is the sound of Maureen's voice at first through his phone.
Yeah, through his speakerphone.
Through his speakerphone. And then you can obviously hear he thinks maybe it was saying hello. I almost thought it sounded like 3 syllables, like something.
It doesn't, I don't hear any words. I just hear like, whoa.
Yeah. Or it almost sounds like someone slipping, like on being like, whoa.
Right, that's what I mean. It sounds like Toad.
And I
like,
think we even said that
out.
when we listened to. Yeah, it does. It sounds like when Toad gets hit with a shell in
Yeah.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, it
That sort of
does.
Yeah, good point.
So
I think
maybe
we
that's what it
probably
was.
said these same things back in episode 13, but little something we wanted to revisit. Little
You know,
something we
I
wanted
don't
to
know,
revisit.
you guys. We don't
Now,
know.
guys, this next one is freaky. The actual EVP itself, the file is about 10 minutes long. I'm not going to play you the whole file. I'm going to play you about 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
A
Okay.
2-minute excerpt. You're not going to be able to discern what they're saying. It sounds like some sort of an altercation. There sounds like a lot of screaming. There's a lot of clattering as if tables and chairs are being knocked about. There's screaming. There's almost slapping noises. And there is going to be times when the scream almost seems to warp. We'll play it back. It almost sounds like at first you think it's like a door squeaking. But then the
Yeah.
way it changes, you can tell it's not. It's weird.
Oh, God.
But just know this one's freaky. If you got any little kids around, they might not like it. It's like I said, you're not going to be able to you can just tell what's happening is violent and it's ugly. And what's weird is apparently this whole team, the Central New York Ghost Hunters, this was at an old hotel in Syracuse, New York. The home of your shout out to your alma mater.
That's right, Syracuse University. honey.
And apparently they were even in the room when this was happening and could not hear. And let me tell you, you won't even hear them. They are completely drowned out by this chilling. I feel like maybe
Yes.
I'm building this up too much. But you know what? I'm going to shut the hell up. Let's
really
just-
quick, you guys, there is something about Syracuse and there is something about central upstate New York that
Yeah.
there's something there. You can just feel it in the
Yeah.
air. There's so much history and weirdness.
Yeah.
Let's
All
hear
right.
it.
Everyone buckle up. Hold your loved ones close because here we go.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my dear God. That
For-
is fucking scary.
Very scary. First of all, a couple things to know about this
wow, wow,
EVP.
wow.
You heard that clicking noise? I wasn't from in the article they mention it. And I can't tell from the article. So they said what that sound is the tick-tocking of a grandfather clock.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't tell. I couldn't discern from the article if they were implying that there was an actual grandfather clock in the room, like a
Right.
real one that was there, or if that was part of the EVP, like as if
Right.
at some time there. What I couldn't discern. I'm going to assume that they meant there was a grandfather clock already in there.
Right.
Also, you heard a man's voice, almost sounded like
Yes.
kind of talking. He wasn't shouting. It was almost, you couldn't discern what he was saying. Just just, if I remember correctly, the article notes it was an all-female ghost hunting team.
Oh my god! Because it really sounds like a man's voice. It really does. That's so scary. And it was weird, like you said, the kind of the morphing of the sound. Like sometimes it would sound like one thing and then it would kind of change to another. Like sometimes it sounded kind of like mechanical,
yes,
and then it sounded human or animal,
yes,
or it was strange. Like sometimes it sounded like a train,
right?
I thought kind of, and then sometimes it so clearly sounded like screaming or like voices.
And there's that part where you think it's a scream, and then I'm almost certain it was a door, like a squeaky door.
Right.
But then it comes back in a way that it sounds like vocal cords again.
Like, totally. But the very beginning of the sound sounded so human to me. It kind of seemed like it started human, turned into a door, and then turned into maybe a human again.
Exactly.
That is one of those things, those recordings, that makes me wonder, like, what kind of message or haunting,
right,
whatever is this? Like, is it residual or is it intelligent?
Right.
Dylan, do you want to tell the peeps?
Obviously, as we know, there's a difference between a residual haunting and an intelligent one. So residual, I'm sure most of our listeners know, but we'll just recap.
Yeah.
Residual is like a good example. There was a legend. Apparently, you can, like here in Chicago. Here's a good example of a residual haunting. Apparently, here in Chicago, near the Biograph Theater, the alleyway next to the theater was where the famous criminal John Dillinger was shot down by police.
Yeah.
And the legend is that a certain time of night, you can see the ghost of John Dillinger running down the alley and then falling.
Yes.
That's an example of a residual haunting. It's almost like like an imprint, almost like an echo.
Exactly.
It's not, he's well passed on, but for some reason there is an imprint,
right,
repeating this event.
Yes.
Whereas intelligent is what you would expect. It's something that is aware of itself and is intentionally trying to communicate.
Like it's communicating.
Right. So essentially with residual, the theory is they would be doing that whether you're there or not.
Exactly.
Even if the house was empty, they'd still be doing this shit.
It would be happening. Yeah.
Intelligent is it shows up when it doesn't want someone fucking there. You know what I mean?
Or when it's just wants to engage.
And something the book.
Very quick sidebar. The Biograph Theater in Chicago, so it used to be a movie theater and now it's a live performance theater.
Is it Victory Gardens?
Yeah, Victory Gardens.
Yeah.
It works through there, and then some other, I think other companies do shows there too. But one time I went there for an audition for a play, and I did my audition. It was like fine. And then I walk out of the Biograph Theater, and right as I walk out, a Untouchables Chicago crime tour bus pulled right up in front, and everyone took out their cameras and just started taking pictures because there's these like bus tours that you can take in Chicago that's like Chicago crime, and they'll take you to like all the mob spots and whatever. Right. I was just there for that photo, and I just kind of stood there and held my arms out, and I'm probably in a lot of people's photo albums of their trip to Chicago.
That's probably true.
Because luck.
Just sheer luck. Lucky for them. Interesting thing that the book clarified. Obviously, we kind of use the term ghosts, spirits, all that stuff interchangeably. But apparently, ghost, the actual correct term of ghost, is when referring to these residual hauntings. So what we just talked about with John Dillinger, that would be a ghost.
Right.
And then if it is an intelligent haunting, then that is a spirit. It's an intelligent spirit that has not crossed over.
Gotcha.
So the theory is that a residual haunting, that spirit could actually have passed over.
Right.
It's just it's more of just an energy thing. Whatever has
that
left.
Energy in that moment of time was so significant that it's still like on a loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, there are also 4 main theories as to who are these things leaving these messages.
Okay.
Obviously, the first one, spirits,
yeah.
Ghosts, people who have passed away, or, demonic, angelic entities, things like that.
Yes.
And the reason why a lot of people tend to think this is because oftentimes some of these EVPs can be quite personal.
Yes.
Like if they're asking a question, and therefore, specifically, if you are trying to communicate with someone you've lost, and if you get an answer that seems personal, it's natural you would assume this must be the soul of a past loved one or someone,
Right.
of just a person.
And sometimes the actual voice can sound like,
Exactly.
what their voice sounded like, or yeah.
Theory 2, which is very fascinating, and the author even makes a point of saying she finds very fascinating, something we talk about a lot. It's something that's very interesting. Well, what if these EVPs are put there by our own psychic projections? What does that mean? Does that mean it's all in your head? Yeah, but it doesn't mean you're confused or you're lying.
It doesn't mean it's not real.
Or it's not real and you're being tricked. No. What if we are putting these messages on these devices?
Yeah.
Maybe we're tapping into something we didn't know about ourselves.
Exactly. And that's not a phenomenon that's just linked with EVPs. We talked about that a little bit with the idea of a tulpa, which is like kind of the idea that if so many people are afraid of something or putting so much energy and thought into something like Slender Man, it can
The
become.
idea of a tulpa, right.
But then another thing, what's more compelling to me than that is also like poltergeist activity.
Yes.
How that's kind of thought to be
Right.
it's truly happening. This
Exactly.
activity is happening, but that it's happening because of the energy and the
Right.
release energy.
Right.
These
It
people,
manifests.
how it
The-
manifests through these teenagers or these
Right.
tweens or whatever that are going through puberty.
Puberty, and they're feeling emotions really intensely. The theory is that these poltergeists may actually be manifestations of their subconscious. Doesn't mean they're wanting this,
Yeah,
or that
or
they
that it's
even
their
are in
fault.
control of
No.
this thing. It's that perhaps this is something created by, but
Yeah.
not as a means for attention. Obviously,
No. It's just it's like a byproduct.
It's like a
kind of.
byproduct, exactly.
And just off of that same kind of theory, why couldn't we be able to kind of harness the energy of our mind to get some sort of communication out of an EVP?
Absolutely. Explanation number 3.
Let's talk about it.
Probably Mr. Tesla would agree. What if this is communication from people from other planets?
I mean, yeah.
There's no reason I think that's another fun idea. It's as viable as any of the others.
I mean, sending out some kind of waves that travel far. I don't know about science either, guys. But, who knows? Aliens seem to get technology.
Exactly.
So why couldn't they figure out some sort of way to send word from so far away?
And finally, the last example of maybe what it could be, another thing we like to talk about a lot on here. What if it's just other people, but from different timelines, different
I was
dimensions?
hoping that is what I was hoping you were going to say, and I'm just overjoyed.
You've
that you
seen
did.
Interstellar.
Someone communicating with you
From a different time.
a different time, a different
Maybe even someone
dimension.
you know.
Yes.
Maybe it's you.
Maybe it is you.
Maybe it's you saying, get out.
It's just a time slip, and in that way it's kind of residual.
Right.
It means that maybe somehow some moment in the universe got put someplace where it
Exactly.
we didn't understand it to be before.
Exactly.
And
another point I wanted to bring up, sorry to change subjects, I want to jump back to the idea of it being psychic projections.
Yeah.
Like we said, that would explain why you always see ghosts of presidents at the White House.
Yeah.
Well, what else would you expect to see? Or people who once worked
True.
or lived at the White House.
That's what you want to see.
And likewise, if you're in the house of Anne of Cleves, you would assume you wouldn't be surprised if you heard a lady talking about Henry.
You are looking for a woman to be telling you something about Henry, and especially to be making some sort of slightly salacious comment.
So maybe that was the obviously we're just saying this there. What if that was the psychic projection of the investigators putting that on the tape?
I mean, wow. But in a cool way. I think that's such a great option. But I also gotta say, I'm very, very inclined to kind of lean towards classic, this is a ghost,
This
a
is ghost.
spirit,
I
a
agree.
past, someone that has passed on. Also, maybe it can be different things depending on the situation.
I was going to say, maybe it's a little of everything. Maybe sometimes it's a ghost. Maybe sometimes it's projections. Maybe sometimes it's E.T.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes it's a little bit of a combo that we
Right.
don't really get.
Or maybe it's that version of you if you would have wore the other pair of shoes that day.
I mean,
And they're telling you, put on the flats.
Wear the flats.
Wear the flats, honey.
Don't wear the boots. They're going to hurt you. Oh, she's walking to the L. She's already walking. Oh, and
maybe that's what it is.
She's in a bad mood.
All right. Well, citizens of the Milky Way, that is going to wrap it up for EVPs, a.k.a. electronic voice phenomena.
That was spooky and scary, but fun.
And let me tell you, what's great, EVPs are evergreen, baby.
Yeah.
We can do in the future, we definitely will. We'll probably do random Feel That Itch.
Check-ins,
we'll do EVPs part 2, more EVPs part 2.
We're going to do that with ritual games.
Yeah.
In a few other episodes, we're going to, we'll revisit.
Do part 2s.
And get ready for a fun October.
Get ready for October, baby.
Everyone, please have a blast. Enjoy yourselves.
Absolutely.
You know what? Have the fucking Reese's.
Do it.
Have the fucking Reese's pumpkin, okay?
Do it. Once again, if you would like to support us, go to www.patreon.com/Creep Street Podcast. Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I am Maureen Bogey.
And this is Creep Street. Citizens of the Milky Way, good night.
And
goodbye.